All right, welcome everybody to this episode of Prodigy's Simply Fit podcast. I am joined by Ashwini Naidu. She is one of our newest members. I think we just hit our 2-month mark. She came through a referral from Shweta. If you guys have listened to our podcast, she was one of our first podcasts that we had. And Ashwini has been a welcomed addition to our family. And so she's hit her 2-month mark, has seen a lot of great results in those 2 months. And I wanted to bring her on to kind of talk about her journey a little bit. So Ashwini, thank you so much for joining me. If you don't mind, can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit and kind of share a little bit about your journey in terms of fitness and things like that?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction, Andrew, and thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm Ashwini Naidu, and I recently moved to the US about a year ago, just before the pandemic hit us. So I haven't seen much. Prodigy is probably the first few people that I'm interacting with now that I'm working out, and it has been such a pleasure. And from a work perspective, I'm in tech. I'm a solution engineer for a cybersecurity company. So that's a pretty busy life, I would say, yeah. Right? In terms of my fitness journey, I'd say I, as a kid, have always been an outdoor person. And I think I still am. And the testament to that fact is that I do not own a television at home. I have a projector, but I like to be outdoors, right?
Yeah.
So that means as a kid, I've been really active. And I think I've had a bicycle for all my life, except for the last 1 year because everything ran out of stock. But my interaction with, let's say, a traditional gym happened first time, I think when I was 17. And even that was for, it was part of a job requirement. I was trying to be a fitting model for a brand, garment brand. And I had to lose an inch or two. So I went to the gym, and it was very intimidating.
Yeah.
I've always seen that, when you walk into a gym, you have people who are really muscular, lifting those heavy weights, or, people who are literally flying off of the treadmill.
Yeah.
So I tried that. And for me, my journey has always been pretty on and off. I would try to go to a gym, but then it wouldn't work and I would just fall back. And the reason why I really started thinking actively about that is, I have a condition where if I scar, if I get hurt, I scar, right? And it's always there. So I went to treat that. And as a result of the medication, I put on a lot of weight. I almost put on 40 pounds within 6 months of taking the medication, right? And this was when I was still in my early 20s. And when this happened, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I tried to work out. And, I had no motivation because I was pretty much on the heavier side. And I wanted to go to the gym. But again, somehow it was not sustainable for me. I felt sick. Then I lost my 40 pounds. And then I was again, in the phase where I started thinking about my scars, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go treat it now. And by now I have started working and I have access to money, and I'm like, let's go treat it. So I go back and we have this back and forth with my doctors so many times. And I say, I know, I have a feeling that this medication makes me put on weight. And the doctors are like, that's 1 in a million case. And I said, okay, let's try it again. I got 2 shots and that's it. I mean, it's like I just inflate right after that. And that's what happened. And so I realized, okay, this is not going to work. And then I moved to the US. And once I moved here, of course, 2020 has been an extremely tough year. You can imagine migration is a huge task in itself. You're practically restarting your life in a different country. And then having to do that during pandemic has, I would say, has been a very difficult year for me. And as a result of that, at the beginning, I was like, oh, there is so many parks over here. There are trails over here. It's good to get out and go for a walk. But then the reality is that the isolation took over for me. And then at some point in time, I just became very lax about what I was doing. So about, I would say, around October 2020, which is like probably 6, 7 months ago, I was at the highest weight I've had. I was at like 216 pounds, right? And today, this is April 2021, I'm at 180 pounds.
Yeah, that's
Right?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And I joined Prodigy and I'm so glad I found you guys. It was Shweta, literally, like, Shweta has been very active at Prodigy, and she's always been an inspiration. I've looked up to her in terms of, I always wondered, she's a busy mom and a busy professional. I work with her. I know how busy her life is,
Right.
and then she still goes to the gym and works out, and then she tells me about Prodigy. She tells me, hey, it's a small family owned gym, and right now we are working out with all the masks on, and you clean your equipments after yourself, and it's in small groups. And this time I just told, when she was telling me all of this, I said, okay, and my first question I asked her, how much does it cost? you know
Yeah.
and then I was like, I'll think about it, right? And that's almost like an excuse, right? You're like, I'm going to go back to my budget board and say, hey, oh, I'm going to see how I'm going to factor that in. Then another time we meet, and she just tells me about the gym, and this time I just told Ashwin, come on, just be what do you call a yes girl, just say yes to the opportunities that life gives you. And I said, don't think too much about it. So I didn't discuss it with my family. I didn't discuss it with any friends. I didn't tell anyone. I just, put on my workout shoes and, decided to show up at the gym.
Yeah.
And funnily as it would be, Andrew, you might remember the first time you were supposed to meet me, I told you I couldn't find the gym.
Yeah.
I was in the parking lot. I drove
Oh,
up to the parking lot. I was in the parking lot, and it was like 10 minutes past our scheduled time. You called in to check, and I said, oh, I'm here at this business center, but I don't see a gym here, because that was me hesitating to walk
sure.
into a gym, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you diligently followed up, then I felt guilty. I was like, okay, no, tomorrow I got to show up. And I think the next day I showed up was 16th of Feb. And to this day, I think I have not missed a single class. There was only one day I missed because I had lifted two heavy weights the previous day, but I think I never looked back since that day.
Yeah.
So that's been my journey so far.
That's awesome. And I think that, going back to this, and it's kind of a funny story, right? But you doing that, I think you're not unique in that, right? Like you mentioned before, trying to go to another gym previously, that it's intimidating, right? And it's intimidating for a lot of people to walk into a space. And so it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, you got to, do whatever kind of mindset shifts that, and I know you and I have talked a lot about this over the last couple of months about kind of the mindset shifts that you've gone through, but the idea
Mhm.
that, it's okay to be, it's okay that you're intimidated to walk into a gym,
Yeah.
right? That's okay. That's normal, right? It's on the unknown. It's uncertain. Like you don't know what you're walking into in terms of like, are there going to be a bunch of muscle bound people and lifting all these heavy weights? And
Yeah.
am I going to stick out like a sore thumb? But, I think the key is one, finding a place that, you can walk into and you feel welcomed, right? But also two, I think probably a lot of it had to do with the fact that finding a friend, right? Finding a buddy, like knowing that Shweta went there, like is coming here, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure helped in terms of, I have somebody that I know, right? Like I have
Yeah.
somebody that I can kind of fall back to, if needed, right? And I think that's important. So when you finally said yes, right? We finally got you in, right? Even though you stood me up the first day. Like what were your goals? Like what is it that you really wanted to accomplish? And I know that obviously you and I have talked about this, but I think that it's pretty cool stuff. But what were your goals, and kind of how have they, over these last couple of months, how have they changed, versus from when you started?
Yeah, I think when I first came in, it was a Monday or Tuesday that I started working out. So over the weekend, I had gone for a hike, and it was my first time hiking in the US. I've heard so much about it, and California is such a beautiful place. And when I went on that hike, I was, probably the last person to finish the hike. There was somebody who had to always stay behind me to make sure that I don't get left behind. And it was like a 2.5 mile hike. And I was having such a hard time keeping up. And I was like running out of breath all the time. And I came back home thinking that, oh my God, this is just, there is so much out there for me to do, but my body is just not supporting that, right? So obviously when we think about a gym and everything, the first, we are tuned to think about weight loss as the very first thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, so when we spoke, I also you are always very particular about having a conversation with the new members before they join, understanding their goals. So when you asked me, and I think I did answer weight loss as being my biggest goal. But then as I came inside, and there is this beautiful vibe board inside the gym, and while I'm doing my workouts, I keep looking at that. What are the different reasons why all these wonderful people are working out? And then I kind of, although I started with the initial goal of just weight loss, which I have, of course, attained at a very gradual pace. And another thing that we spoke about was how it can be a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
This time I just didn't want to kind of go into a gym, lose many pounds and then go back to doing what I was doing, right? I wanted this to become a sustainable lifestyle for me.
Yeah.
And which is why I think, although since the very first day I mentioned weight loss, it's 2 months now, you and I have never spoken about weight loss. Although I keep coming back and telling you, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've dropped so many pounds. I've dropped so many pounds. Um, but in terms of what I've really seen, or what I call my small wins, are like the very first thing. And I can't tell you how excited I was when I could squat all the way down.
Yeah.
After a workout session, I was cleaning my mat and I was like squatting and doing that. And suddenly I realized I have not done this in years. And
Yeah.
here's my knee bending so flexibly that I could do this. And I almost had Coach Kaylee click a picture of mine so that I could go share it with my family and friends saying, have you ever seen me do this?
Yeah. That's
I
awesome.
mean, I couldn't even sit on the floor. Back in India, we sit on the floor to have our food. And I am the person who always sat on a dining table, needed a chair because I couldn't sit down.
Yeah.
And that was definitely a huge one for me. And the other one was I even bought myself a nice cart to carry all my grocery bags from garage to my apartment. And now I can do that on my own. I carry up to 4 bags, and I don't need that cart is stashed away. I don't use it anymore. I carry my own bags. And very recently, I went on a hike, and it was a 6 mile hike. I came back feeling absolutely fine, and I think I could have gone for some more, but
Yeah.
baby steps,
Yeah.
right? And another thing that is so intangible is the change in your mood,
Yeah.
right? I think I still am in the same situation as I was in 2020. Pandemic is still on, and I'm still here by myself. But my mood has been much better, right?
Yeah.
And there's this overall sense of what I call overall sense of confidence, which I call as a can-do attitude,
Yeah.
because I'm going to the gym every day and I'm doing things that I thought I would never be able to do. It it transcends into other aspects of my life, where when I see a daunting task, I just say I can do this,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to jump into it and then I'm going to figure it out.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. And I think that really speaks to the idea, and as you've mentioned, right, we're huge on finding those non-scale victories, right? What are those things other than the weight loss? Because yeah, I mean, our weight's going to fluctuate as it is, right? So if you're just solely focused on weight loss, right, you're going to be frustrated on a daily basis, because one day it's going to go up and then it's going to go down and it's going to go up 4 pounds and down. So it's like, yeah. And I think that, probably the biggest thing is having that kind of that idea that, I can accomplish anything, right? And I think is huge. um you know and it's something that that's so awesome to hear you say, is that like, I can look at that hill that we're going to go hike and go, yep, I can do it, right? And that's
Yeah.
awesome, because ultimately it means that you're able to enjoy life, right? Like, you're able to go after anything and not go, oh, wow, and I really wish I could have done that, but like, I just can't do it. Like, no, I'm going to do it. And I think that's awesome. And so I know one of the things that we had talked about a while back, and you had mentioned, was you kind of like your mindset shifts, like some of the biggest things that you've really experienced are kind of those mindset shifts. And so I wanted to touch on those a little bit, if you don't mind, just about like, because I think, and like I told you before, right, the people who are potentially listening to this podcast are potentially struggling with that mindset of, whatever, right? Like, it's too intimidating, or it's too much money, or I'm out of my normal daily routine, or whatever it may be, right? And so I know you and I had talked briefly about it previously, about your mindset shifts. And so let's talk about that a little bit. What are some of the things that you've done to really kind of help shift your mindset to be a little bit more, I don't want to say positive maybe is not the right word, but you know what I mean, to set you up for success?
Yeah, I think I would kind of put it across as reprogramming your mind or the hacks that you use, right? And of course, I kind of took this approach this time because having studied psychology for a couple of years, I do spend a lot of time thinking about how your mind tricks you into not wanting to do things that are difficult, because our minds usually want to do things that are easier for us, right? That's one aspect of it. How can you trick your mind to do things differently? And I'm going to share the 10 tips that work for me, which I practice every day. And the other thing is, we also grow up with these messages that we hear from from people around us, or from the media, from everywhere, right? And that's what forms we take a lot of those beliefs, like, and in the course of conversation, there were a few things that I mentioned where, okay, the gym is an intimidating place. People who are already fit are the ones who go to the gym. And the second thing is, a gym can be a very expensive thing. It is something that people who are very rich can do. We don't do gym, things like that, right? So it's very important to kind of understand if there is any of those voice that you're hearing, and then reason with those voice, right? And in terms of the hacks itself, I would say, I mean, this is my system, and it's working beautifully well for me. One is to put it on your calendar. And I've heard this on a couple of other podcasts as well. Like right now, if I look at my work calendar on my second screen, I have Prodigy over there right after work, right? And the second thing is, schedule the week in advance. I do this on every Sunday night before I go to bed. I book all my classes till the next Saturday, so that nothing is uncertain. I know that on Monday at 6 p.m. I'm going to be at the gym. On Tuesday at 6 p.m. I'm going to be at the gym, and this is what I'm going to do, right? That kind of gives you the ability to structure everything else around it, right? And the third one is to say schedule. I mean, if you are going to prioritize working out, the only way you can prioritize it is to make that the first thing that you do. Now, for some people, this works out as knock this out, knock your workout out right in the morning, first thing in the morning, go to the gym in the morning. I personally prefer working out at the end of the day, because that gives me time to unwind from my work day, right? But the way I prioritize it is, now if tomorrow Andrew says, hey, Ashwini, let's go grab a beer, I'm going to tell Andrew that, I probably can't do 6 p.m. on Friday, but I can do 8 p.m. because by then I would have finished my workout.
Yeah.
So I actually make it a point to tell people that this is important to me. I'm going to finish this, and then I can do whatever you want me to do, right? And the third one is to understand what you put into your body.
Yeah.
Right. We are so calorie focused, and I'm guilty of that too. I used to, especially when I moved to the US. Here, it's a practice that they list the calories on the food, which is not something that I'm used to seeing back home. So when I saw this, and I'd be like, oh my God, 800 calories. Should I eat it or should I not eat it? Oh, so if I probably ate this one pizza, then I'm not going to eat anything else for the day. But that's really not the thing, right? It's not about the calories. It's about what makes up those calories. what
Right.
percentage of your food is your proteins, what percentage of it is fat, what percentage of it is carbs, and how much fiber are you getting in, right? So understanding that is pretty critical, rather than just looking at the number saying I got to be under a certain number.
You're right.
Right. And I use an app to help me track, to break my food down, to understand what am I eating, right?
Right.
And the second thing is, because I'm using the app, it also allows me to plan my meal in advance. So at the beginning of every day, I put in all the food that I'm going to consume for the day. And now, because I have put that in to my app, when I need food or when I have a craving, I know what I'm going to go reach out for, because it's already in my app, because I've already thought about it, right?
Right.
So that's a hack that you do to your mind. If you don't do that, you're just going to open your fridge, or you're going to open your cabinet where you've kept your snacks, and you're going to go like, okay, you're just going to go eat whatever comes your way,
Right.
right? So just change that a little bit. And and this one is a beautiful one. It's called, you know create a list of your small wins, right?
Mm.
I do this with my sister, who's in India right now. We have a WhatsApp group just for the two of us. We call it highlight of the day, and we actually share one big win for the day. And I have been sharing a lot about what's going on in the gym, and I talk to her about, hey, I was able to squat today. I was able to move up from the 10 pounds weights to 15 pounds weights. I feel more flexible. Those are the kind of small victories that I share, which kind of also tells your mind that you are actually making progress. And I feel this approach is much better
Yeah.
than looking at the scale and seeing if you're making progress.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's huge. And I think because like if your initial goal, right, or somebody's
Mhm.
initial goal is to say like to lose, 50 pounds, right? Like if you do it the right way, it's not going to happen overnight. But with that being said, right, it can get really frustrating because it's going to take a long time. And so, yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And I hugely believe that as well, of like celebrating those small wins. I do it myself. I have kind of a little planner thing that I've created. And at the bottom of it, as I kind of sign off for the night before I leave the
Mhm.
office, I always write, what are my 3 wins for the day? And it could be something as simple as like, hey, I sat down and had a really awesome conversation for the podcast with Ashwini today. Like that was a win
Yeah.
because I got to get to know you a little bit more, right? People outside of our community get to know you. But like those little things, because also like when you get stuck in that day to day,
Yeah.
and you're constantly going, like it may not look like you're making progress. You may not feel like you're making progress, but you're like, oh, well, shoot, like I squatted all the way down to the ground today. Like that's
Yeah.
a huge win. I wasn't able to do that. So I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah. And here comes my favorite one. Okay.
Yeah.
And this has been my secret hack. I don't talk about this one, but today I'm going to share it. What I call as a have a pre-planned reset action. Because although I have been working out every single day at the gym, showing up every single day, I don't wake up every single day saying, oh, today I'm going to go to the gym. There are days when I feel like, oh my God, I don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
And when that happens, and that could happen for multiple reasons, right? Bad day at work, stressful work, you have more work pending, and I'm not feeling too well today, just not in mood, whatever the reason be. When I see a reason hit me that I'm not going to, or when the thought crosses my mind saying, maybe I should not go to the gym today, I don't think any further. I just go go out and bring my shoes, I put on my shoes, and I continue with the rest of the day. That's my reset action. Because when I'm done with my work day and it's time for me to go to the gym, my shoes are already on. And I'm like, oh, you've already put on your shoes. You might as well go to the gym. And then I just show up. So, for me, it's putting on shoes is my reset action. You could create your own reset action. So just have something. The thought crosses your mind saying, I don't want to go in, I don't want to work out today. Have a reset button.
Yeah.
And just
That's
use that as
beautiful.
soon as the thought gets you.
I love that. I love that. And it goes kind of along the lines of, so a book that I'm a huge fan of is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about that, right? About kind of that trigger, like every habit has a trigger. And so you have to find that if you're looking to build a habit, right? And so for example, if you're looking to build a habit of going to the gym on a consistent basis, like that reset button for you is very much a trigger where you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I already know, like once the shoes come on, like at the end of the day, I'm going, right? Whether I
Yeah.
feel like it or not. And you know, what we always say, right? Like is like once you leave the gym, you're never mad that you came to the gym, right? You're always like, oh,
Yeah.
so glad I came, right? And it was just a matter of you getting here first. But I love that idea of, you know, finding that reset or that trigger that's gonna get the process going, right? And I think it plays along the lines of all the other stuff you talked about planning everything ahead of time, because the more planning you do, the less thinking you have to do about it, right? And it happens, and it takes off so much of our plate. And I'm similar.
Absolutely.
Like I plan my week out on Sundays,
Mhm.
and I find that if I don't, oh my gosh, like that whole week I am just like a scrambled mess because
All
I
over the place.
all over the place. Absolutely. Very
Right. So I have the last three now.
yeah.
Coming
Do it.
down to
Let's do
number
it.
8. Number 8 is practice mindfulness. And I have been experimenting with this at the gym. So while you think that you're not practicing mindfulness, you never know, you are actually, in the past I have, while I'm working out and I'm looking at that clock over there, or 30 seconds, and I'm like counting with that. That's mindfulness too.
Yeah.
It's just that you're focusing your attention on the clock. But what I've done is I've kind of, again, it's a part of reprogramming your mind. What I do now is to kind of, while I'm working out, I just focus on what's happening inside my body, right? Which is why I keep asking you that question all the time. What is this workout supposed to do? Where am I supposed to feel it? Because
Yeah.
inside my head, as I'm and generally when I'm doing my workout, I'm quiet. I don't talk. I talk after that. But that's because I'm just sitting quiet. I'm just doing my stuff in silence, and I'm actually observing in my mind what's happening to my body, right? That way I'm not focused on the time. I'm not waiting for that timer to go down, or sometimes you wait for the timer to explode. That's not happening. So practice mindfulness in the right way, right?
Yeah.
So that's worked for me. And the ninth one uh, is something, I call it like connect with your future self,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So the whole idea of when you start something, right, you want to have a vision of who you would be, right? um, and then you can manifest that vision, right? So you probably, when I started working out, I couldn't answer the why, right? I still haven't written anything on the why board, because I think I'm a very visual person, and I have a mental image of what my future self is going to look like, right? So every time there is a thought that stops me from going and working out, or I'm feeling tempted to not eat clean today, or anything like that happens, then I just take a step back, and I talk to my future self, and then I ask my future self, like, would you want to do this today? And then I'm like, no, I don't want to do this, right?
Yeah.
So it's always, think of your future self as your best friend. Always talk to your future self, and then that automatically guides your actions for today, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And closing with the last one is you know thinking of, when you think about who you are, right? There are a lot of adjectives or nouns you would have. Okay, I'm a girl, I'm a cybersecurity professional, or I do this. So in all those labels that we put for who am I, it's important to add, I just say fitness is a part of who I am, right? I've embraced it. So it is not something external to me, it's
Right.
internal to me. And I think with that, what happens is over a period, and I think that's how it becomes a part of your lifestyle,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Right. It
So
becomes your
it comes
identity.
naturally. Yeah, it's integrated into who you are,
Yeah.
right? So when I talk to my friends now, I don't shy away, and um, I just tell them, hey, I go to work out. I have to work out before doing this. It's just like saying, hey, I prefer Coke over Pepsi, if that's part of who you are,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right.
I don't drink soda, but just saying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, make it a part of who you are. So that's my top 10, and this has been working. This system has been working well for me so far.
Yeah, that's beautiful. No, I love it. And then to that last point, right, going along the same book, James Clear mentioned in Atomic Habits, he talked about like, if you're somebody who like is trying to create the habit of, let's say, like learning to play the guitar, for example, right?
Yeah.
You don't say, I'm somebody who's learning to play the guitar. You say, I'm a guitar player. I'm a guitarist, right?
Exactly.
Like you create that identity, and you're more likely to, stick with those habits of if that becomes your identity, which I think is huge. And then what was number 9? I wanted to touch on a point, but I forget what number 9 was. What was number 9?
It was connect with your future self.
Yes. The idea of visioning, I think, is huge, right? And like, what ultimately like does success look like? And I don't know if you recall, like, but one of the questions I ask everybody when they first start with us,
Yeah.
kind of like my secret sauce question, right, is like, like if you and I were to sit down 12 months from now, like what does success look like? And in order to get there, like, what do we have to do, right? Like, in order for you to feel and be successful, right? And then I think it gets people into that visioning, right? Because I think visioning is huge, right? As kind of, woo woo or whatever it may be, right? You like it's a thing, and I truly believe in it. And I like, that was one thing that we actually had like this year with like my team here at the gym, right? We had everyone sit down and go, okay, like what is your vision for success in 2021, right? And I want you to include both Prodigy as well as personal life. Like
personally, yeah.
If 2021 was your quote unquote best year ever, like what does success look like to you? Because I think that ultimately that will play in your subconscious, right? And that will constantly be there. And you're going to have those conversations with your future self of going like, you know what? Should I go to the gym, or should I go have beer with my friends? Well, my future self is probably saying, hey, you know what? Go to the gym first, and then you can go have a beer with your friends after. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's powerful. That's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And while doing all of this, I obviously don't deprive myself. I have been working out, and I have also been closely paying attention to my diet, and I haven't really followed any particular diet. I'm just being more aware of what I'm eating, and I'm just kind of I've shifted some of the foods, like reduce the fats and probably eat more fiber, reduce the carbs, switch to a little bit more proteins. But I'm still eating things that I like eating, and I do have my guilty pleasures. My guilty pleasures are I love the New York pizza from the Pleasanton downtown. Oh my god, I just love that.
Yeah.
And I have a brewery right in the apartment where I live. So like so much craft beer there, and I love burgers from I think it's the place is called Red Robin. So a lot of times when I'm actually working out in the gym, I'm thinking about all these wonderful things that I like to eat.
Yeah.
That's what's going on in my head sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But once I've done my because I've been consistently working out right now, and I automatically know that I can still enjoy the food that I want to eat and still not go on a binge spree. Suddenly say I'm eating 4 burgers for a day. I don't think you can do that, but just saying.
No, and that's perfect. And I think that that's absolutely to the mantra that we have here of like, yeah, enjoy life. Like, I don't want, our members ever to feel deprived. Like, you can't go out and enjoy, drinks with friends or go to food with friends or whatever it is. But it's done in moderation and, things like that. Awesome. This was great. I've had a good time. Hold on. I apologize. Looks like a big truck. I'm going to mute myself real quick.
Sure.
All right. Oh, there he goes. All right.
Okay.
But no, this has been great, and I appreciate you hopping on this with me. I've enjoyed kind of learning a little bit more about you and learning about your 10 hacks, and I think that whoever is listening to this can absolutely at least pick 1 or 2 of those that they can start implementing to see success. So awesome. I appreciate your time. Hang on real quick. I'm gonna close off, or I'm gonna sign off real quick, and then we'll call it a day. All right. So that was
Yep.
it for this episode of Prodigy's Simply Fit podcast with Ashwini, one of our awesome kick-ass members here at Prodigy. As always, if you guys won't mind doing me a favor and subscribing to the podcast, I would greatly appreciate it, as well as sharing this with your friends and family. All right. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.